Hey everybody, Buck Belue back here with Buck's Beat. This is episode 154 today, and we'll be looking back at the Georgia-Auburn game and also glance ahead to the big showdown coming up Saturday in Athens. GameDay going to be showing up for another edition of Lane Kiffin taking on Kirby Smart. Top 10 matchup with Ole Miss taking on the Dogs. Message to the Bulldog Nation. Be happy with a victory, especially when you win on the road against a rival in the SEC. Try to be happy with that. Winning big games, constantly winning has spoiled a lot of the Georgia fan base, and it's something I really hate to see. Right now, winning is just not enough, and that's sad, folks. Because winning is what this is all about. Much of the fan base is just not satisfied with a hard-fought, competitive win, like at Auburn is a great example. Too much winning and complaining about slow starts, tight games, play calling. Seems like so many Bulldog fans are just not pleased unless it's total domination. Coach Kirby Smart's big-time success has created a monster from within. Georgia fans, try to reset. You should be happy when the Bulldogs win, regardless of the score. Football in the SEC is highly competitive. There's going to be some give and take in the game of football. They're going to win some snaps. You're going to win some snaps. And when you go on the road in this conference, you better expect to face some adversity. Be thankful for your team under this coach because the Georgia Bulldogs are mentally tough. Kirby Smart demands that. They're tough enough to fight it out for 4 quarters and emerge victorious. And it's not a good look when winning isn't enough to make you happy. So that part of the Georgia fan base, whining and crying, try to reset. Look in the mirror. Make a change. You're better than this. And realize this. With all of Coach Smart's success and his team's successes, the Bulldogs are going to get the opponent's best shot. Try to feel a little joy at the end of the day when the Bulldogs hunker down, fight the fight, and come out victorious, regardless of the score. And no, you're not qualified to call offensive plays, design blitz packages, or coach the team. Mike Bobo and Glenn Schumann, Kirby Smart are some of the best coaches in college football. Be happy. Enjoy these victories. And remember that this is Coach Smart's youngest team. They're playing 3 freshmen on the offensive line in the SEC. 3 freshmen. You're rotating in you got a freshman basically starting on the defensive line, and you're rotating some other first and second year players on that defensive front. And yet they continue to win, which is impressive. There's some developing going on, and guys playing before they really aren't ready to play at a high level or having to take some reps this season. So try to realize that. Try to recognize that instead of taking shots and tearing them down for crying out loud, because that's a bad look. Back to the Auburn game. Jackson Arnold fumbled at the goal line. If you look closely, and you take off those burnt orange glasses that you Auburn fans seem to be wearing, you'll see that both Raylan Wilson and C.J. Allen, the two Georgia linebackers, were able to punch the ball almost simultaneously. One knocked it loose out of the grip of Jackson Arnold. The other knocked it out of there. The first punch caused Jackson Arnold to lose the grip on the ball, and the second punch knocked the ball away from the goal line. It was loose when you saw that still shot, the still shot of the point of the ball reaching the goal line. That ball was out of his grip at that point in time. And Auburn was lucky the officiating crew did not call this a Georgia touchdown. After Kyron Jones picked the ball up without touching, his knee never touched the ground, his butt never touched the ground, nothing touched the ground. He scooped it up and ran 98 yards for a touchdown the other way. And I'm really not sure who was worse, the officiating crew or the TV broadcast team. Were both not very good. The ABC broadcast team, Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy, McElroy, I can see him as an Alabama man. He's not going to like Auburn. And it seemingly Shore doesn't like Georgia. And Sean McDonough, he and him, for about 30 minutes waiting to see the outcome of this fumble at the goal line were seemingly carrying on a sports talk radio show where you got to have an opinion. We don't need your opinion, Mr. McDonough. Just call the game. And can you recognize exactly what happened on these plays? I mean, this is a national broadcast. Because you're not really looking at it closely enough, you've got a bad take. And that wasn't the only time there was nonsense. McElroy described Gunnar Stockton as taking a hit to his midsection when it was clearly targeting the Auburn player. His helmet caught Stockton under the chin. That is a long way from the midsection, Greg. Clearly targeting. And how in the world does Gunnar Stockton take these shots and keep getting up? He is tough. And how about this Cash Jones penalty for targeting? That may have been, that had to be one of the worst calls of the night. That was horrendous. You can see Cash Jones looking back and then just carrying out a standard block on the play. That's targeting. This officiating crew they lost total control of this game. And McDonough and McElroy's call was full of misinformation, in my opinion. And one more thing, the Auburn Tigers failed miserably at dealing with adversity. One play, and they crumbled. One play that goes the other way, and Auburn goes from dominating the game to getting dominated. I'm thinking mentally weak. You let that just destroy your chances to win after dominating the first half. All right, so Ole Miss shows up Saturday in Athens. I got a top 10 showdown in this one. Another showdown game. GameDay's going to be in town. Should be an electric atmosphere. Georgia's crowd's going to be in there early, loud and proud. It's a tough ticket. If you don't have a ticket, you're probably not getting in, or you're going to pay too much to get in. It's going to be packed over there. And hopefully, we got good weather last year in Oxford. It was a rainy day in Oxford, and Ole Miss, Georgia scored early after a turnover. And Ole Miss pretty much dominated the last three quarters, won that game 28-10. And Rebel students and fans stormed the field in celebration after that victory last year. So I think Bulldog fans, as far as this team goes and coaching staff goes, it's time for a little payback. That Ole Miss defense last year got after Carson Beck in the pocket, sacked him 5 times, and blew up countless other plays. They had like 9 or 10 tackles for losses, just totally in Georgia's backfield, it seemed, all game long. Gunnar Stockton's mobility should help Mike Bobo's offense deal with this aggressive defense that Auburn's going to throw at him because of his ability to run with the football. Carson Beck was a sitting pocket passer, a sitting duck, per se, back in the pocket. Bobo will be able to turn Gunnar Stockton running, turn him running loose in that game, which will help Georgia compared to a year ago. Ole Miss, I got a quarterback thing going on. Austin Simmons, the starter, first early in the season, earned the starting job coming into the year, sprained his ankle, and has been out for 3 games. And Ole Miss has turned to Trinidad Chambliss, who has stepped in, and Trinidad Chambliss is playing at a high level. Passed for 300+ in 3 of his last 4 starts. His legs create some issues for the defense. He's been making a lot of good decisions. Tell you, Lane Kiffin, I think Trinidad Chambliss deserves the start against the Bulldogs. Kiffin's not saying who will start the game this early in the week, but this Georgia defense is going to have to bring it in this matchup. Georgia, a 7.5-point favorite in the game. And coming up later this week, I will drop a deep dive into this Georgia-Ole Miss matchup. That's going to do it for today. We appreciate you hanging out. Bucks beat. Remember now, the Buck Belue Show on 680 The Fan, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8, and then Saturday, 9 to noon. Talk to you soon.